right, a good evening to all of you across the Bell Park Weather Network coverage area. Once again, we are back live covering continued severe weather across the region here this afternoon. I've got Ken McNatt from the Mid-Ohio Valley Weather Update on here with us. And Ken, we've got three big-time storms that we're tracking. Well, technically four if you count the one that's not warned. But storm number one of perhaps greatest concern is north of Ripley, where a pretty decent-looking supercell is underway with perhaps some quite the hailstorm potentially ongoing there north of Ripley.
The storm since it was in Mason County, and what has been happening with it is there's been a good core of solid torrential rain and or hail. I have not seen any reports out of this storm yet, although I'm seeing one here. Dime-sized hail northeast of Leon. We have another report here. Oh, there's a tornado warning now in Belmont and Marshall and Ohio counties.
Okay, let's jump up there then.
Yep.
That's going to steal the show. I'll update the lower bottom of the graphic here. So we have a new tornado warning now. And, oh my goodness, Ken, that looks impressive. There's actually a TVS right in the middle of that signature right there.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. I can see that on the Charleston radar. It's pretty...
Yeah.
Pretty
so let's get the tornado warning on here. Okay, this does include downtown Wheeling. So that's a pretty populous area. So we have a new tornado warning now for portions of northern Marshall County, West Virginia, western Ohio County, West Virginia, and we also have portions of Brooke County in northern West Virginia. You also have portions of southern Jefferson County, most of northern Belmont County, and that's also going to include portions of Harrison County. So lots going on here, and Ken, this is a clear supercell by itself. Rotation on this one looks pretty stout, I have to say, west of Belmont, although the latest scan may have dropped it off just a little bit. But nevertheless, that looks pretty scary right now.
Yes, it does. And I'm just getting on here to the PBZ radar and getting that up to date. And it is a very stout storm, even if it's not necessarily showing... It is showing pretty good rotation potential right now. Here we go. We have a value of 6 on there right now. So,
yes, it is. And one other thing of note here, as I just turned the track on there for you, Belmont. You need to be in your safe place right now. This is right over top of you. St. Clairsville, the county seat there for Belmont County, I do believe. You guys will be right in the middle of this here by about 5:12. Into Neffs at 5:18. Wheeling 5:28. This tornado warning, mind you, goes until 5:45. So this is an extended tornado warning moving off to the northeast at 35 miles per hour. Ken, that is substantially slower than what we have seen with the rest of the storms across our coverage area today. That's interesting.
Yes, and those storms that are moving at a different speed than the others, those are the ones you got to watch the closest, because those storms tend to do their own thing.
Yes, they do, and what Ken's talking about, there's nothing competing for energy or moisture with the storm whatsoever. So those of you that live here into Belmont County, into southern Jefferson County, you need to be in a safe place immediately. I'm going to pop up our, I'm actually going to go to our secondary sources. I want to show a couple different things. See if this is in range of the terminal Doppler. This is actually in range of the terminal Doppler in Pittsburgh. So let's flip over to that here real quick using our secondary radar source here. And this is right over Bethesda and Belmont. You can see some of the reds and greens. Now, we are looking quite a ways away even from the terminal Doppler, but the structure on this thing is very impressive. Let's go over to the reflectivity side. You can see now from the radar in Pittsburgh at the airport, not as impressive on the supercell look, but the latest scan from PBZ, which I'm going to flip over to that now, that is quite the supercell. Very large hail potentially falling on the north side of this towards Morristown, Lafferty, and Bandnock here shortly, and then that'll be moving into St. Clairsville. The rotation part of this is coming right into Bethesda. So, and we're going to pop up our tornado warning safety guidelines. And what should you be doing right now if you're in downtown Wheeling, if you're in Tiltonsville, McMetchen, if you're over here towards St. Clairsville, Bel Air, Martins Ferry. You need to get to the lowest level of your home or business as possible. If you're in a mobile home, you need to get out of there first of all and find a more substantial shelter. If you're driving along I-70 or US 40 or I-470, get off the road immediately if you can. Find a more substantial shelter, convenience store, gas station, some other kind of shelter that is not the interstate. Cars are not a good place to be during a tornado. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Take something to your shelter to protect your body. Helmet, mattress, sofa cushion, something. And if you can, try to get under a workbench or other piece of sturdy furniture, and make sure you use the same protection for your children and your pets. Get everybody into that safe place. If you don't have a basement, find a bathroom or a closet. Room with no windows in the centermost part of your home. Oftentimes, when tornadoes are studied, those inner parts of your home can sometimes stay a little bit more intact depending on the strength of that tornado. And of course, take your phone, your tablet, or whatever it is that you're listening to us on, take us to the basement with you. If you can't do that, take your TV, jack that volume way up so that you can hear us on the other end of your house, wherever that shelter may be. And Ken, that is a classic supercell. This is something that we see more in the Great Plains. This is not something we see in the hilly terrain of eastern Ohio very often. This is impressive.
Not typically. We maybe see cells like this maybe once a year, but we're seeing several cells like this today. But this is perhaps the strongest one we have seen all day today. The rotation is now approaching Belmont as we speak, the town of Belmont in Belmont County. The inflow is still looking very good. The outflow is looking pretty good as well. So I want to look at a different view here real quick, just to...
Yeah, and while this is going on real quick, I do want to point out as that is really wrapped up, I'll draw something there in just a minute. Very large severe thunderstorm area includes near downtown Marietta, near downtown Parkersburg, coming through Elizabeth. The amount of lightning on this is impressive. That storm's coming through Elizabeth. This is also a supercell. This will head towards Harrisville, St. Mary's, Parkersburg, Mineral Wells, over towards Pennsboro, maybe as far north as potentially Middleburn and New Matamoros down the line. We'll switch over to the Charleston radar real brief. There's also a third warned storm coming out of the area south of Charleston with an immense amount of lightning on it. Tagged tornado, not tagged tornado possible, but tagged considerable damage threat for portions of Roane and Calhoun counties. That's in the far southeastern portion of our coverage area there along I-79 until 545. Here's supercell number 2. We actually have 3 of these ongoing now, but number 2... yeah, go ahead, Ken.
The one in Jackson, Wood, and Wirt counties and going to the northeast actually is tagged tornado possible, and there is a meso detection going toward Elizabeth right now.
Yes, I just now saw that as well. This is also tagged tornado possible. So if you're in Elizabeth, Mineral Wells, Harrisville, Pennsboro, and even Parkersburg, especially on the eastern sides of town, if you're near and east of 77, go ahead and treat this as if it were a tornado warning. Just as if a course of least regret. That is another classic supercellular type signature. Very large hail potentially there. And then behind this one is another supercell. May follow very close, if not in the exact same track, exiting Buffalo, West Virginia, coming up towards Leon. There's already been a report of nickel-size and dime-size hail there in Mason County, according to the Weather Service. The dimensions on that at 0.8 tell me that's actually nickel-size hail, but that's okay. That's moving northeast. No warning on it right now. That's the way things look outside of our tornado warning. Back up to the tornado warning. This cell is very
real
wrapped
quick.
up. Go ahead, Ken.
Before we go back there, just to the east of Ravenswood, east of I-77 there, there is a detector of 2-inch hail possible.
Yes, I see that there as well. Lots of purple. And again, a brief period of accumulating hail not out of the question here. Very large hail core. And looking at velocity signature, you're not seeing much in the way of rotation. This is much weaker compared to the tornado warning, which we're about to bounce back up to here in just a second. In fact, let's do this. We'll use one scene for the supercell down south of Parkersburg, the other one for the tornado warning. Tornado warned storm, very wrapped up here. Here's your inflow notch, and this is one of the nice things we can draw on this as well. And there's your precipitation wrapping around the back side. And Ken, I will say I'm not seeing anything on correlation coefficient at least yet, at least in that area of rotation, but velocity is still pretty decent right there on I-70 and kind of straddling I-70 and US 40. We're still seeing very clear sign of rotation there for sure.
Yeah, something is definitely still trying to wrap up here, but fortunately, again, nothing has been seen that is overly concerning on correlation coefficient quite yet, and we haven't seen any observations of, at least from my end, haven't seen any observations of funnel cloud or an actual tornado as of yet on this storm. So we're fortunate on that.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not seeing much in the way of anything there either. So hopefully that will continue to be the case here over the next several frames. I'm just kind of updating a couple different things here on the back side. As you can kind of see here, you've got the warnings crawling at the bottom, so hopefully that's some very informative information for you. The area of rotation, which, let me see if this will work on both sides. It will not, but your area of rotation is going to sit right in there along I-70 and US 40. St. Clairsville, your time is about up if it's not up already. This is coming on your doorstep right now. You need to be in your safe place. Coleraine, there in the northeastern Belmont County, not to be confused. I believe there's also a Coleraine up in northeast Ohio as well, not to be confused there, but also downtown Wheeling. Your time is going to start running low here very soon as well. This is radar indicated, and I'm going to go look at the Weather Service's reports here too. I just want to make sure that we're not missing anything across the board right now. So when I look at Pittsburgh's chat, and it actually looks like NWS chat's having some issues here, so I'll reload that. But we are still seeing some issues here in eastern Ohio and approaching the West Virginia border. And Ken, even the latest frame, that the overall look of this is just ominous, and it's not dissipating, and I don't expect it to. It's not competing with anything right now for energy or any other kind of resources. That latest scan still a very clear inflow notch there for sure.
Indeed, and I was taking a look at that, and I was also taking a look again at the storm in West Virginia, just because I'm watching it very closely. But yeah, there's definitely good inflow on this storm, and even if it doesn't produce a tornado, it's going to produce some very heavy winds and very heavy rain and maybe some small hail.
Yeah, it looks like now that third supercell right behind that one has now been warned, Ken. A severe thunderstorm warning for Mason, Jackson, and Roane counties there for that supercell there. Nickel-size hail winds to 60. I'm kind of shocked we're not seeing a lot of reports of hail today. With as much hail as we're seeing on the radar, that's really impressive. And yeah, Ken, I see the TVS. We did go ahead and flip back over. Multiple supercells right now in the mid-Ohio Valley are warned. We have one kind of southwest of Ripley, another one here approaching Elizabeth, and then our tornado-warned storm up in Belmont County. All three of these are classic Great Plains-looking supercells that we have across the mid-Ohio Valley. This is something that you're going to want to kind of take note of for an extended period of time, and just kind of keep it in the back of your mind that this is not something we see every day. They do continue the tornado warning as of 2 minutes ago for radar-indicated rotation moving northeast at 35 miles per hour. Not seeing, let's see, what is that? Ping pong ball size hail? Am I seeing that correctly? That's interesting. Or maybe there was just a test there. Storm in Belmont County is tightening up absolutely. That was at 4:55 when they were drawing the warning for that. So I want to make it clear, Charleston not mentioning tornado warning on any of these right now, not even mentioning the potential to see an upgrade there, but multiple supercells ongoing. Let's take you back to the tornado warned storm. Looks like they did update the polygon here. And Ken, I'm starting to think, based on this, that Wheeling, even though they're still in the polygon along with Tridelphia, the worst of that may pass to their northwest, and I'll put the radar loop on so we can see that a little bit. Yeah, I think the worst that's going to certainly pass downtown Wheeling, and perhaps by a long shot.
Yeah, if anything's going to go toward Martins Ferry and Yorkville and Clearview, West Virginia. So we need to watch that closely. We need to emphasize that if you're still in the polygon, you still need to take precautions, but know that the polygon is pretty large considering the size of the storm. And these storms can jolt in any direction at any time. But the general direction on this storm is northeast to east-northeast.
Absolutely, and you can see here, sorry about that, I didn't mean to, I may have spazzed the screen there for just a second, but yes, we still have an ongoing tornado warning. I-70, bad place to be right now. If you look at the loop here, I mean, this entire storm is rotating. Right now, as you can see, coming through, it has passed through Bethesda now, and you've been cleared out of the tornado warning polygon. And in fact, I would even clear you out of the severe thunderstorm warning polygon at this point, but obviously, tornado warning polygon takes precedence. At this point, it looks like Wheeling, even though you're still in the polygon, I would expect them to take you out of it the next update, because this has certainly turned a little more north-northeast than east-northeast, at least as the last couple of frames. The rotation, let's go and take a look at that here real quick. Still pretty evident here near Bannock and east of Lafferty, approaching Ohio State Road 9, and then that will exit toward Harrisville, and that is going to be there into Harrison County, and that may also exit into Jefferson County here if these current trends continue. So that's the latest look at things there. I'm continuing to monitor some things now that I've got the Weather Service indicators back up here. Not seeing any updates whatsoever. They were at 4:30 watching this storm coming out of Noble County, obviously, but that's the way things stand. And Ken, let's go back to those supercells real quick down to the south. Even the one south of Charleston going supercellular now as well. We still have an ongoing warning there until 5:45 for Rowan and Calhoun counties. That's a long ways away yet. I would actually be surprised if it makes it to the end of that polygon by that specified time. But otherwise, Ken, it looks like we could still have a lot of large hail falling. Have you received a lot of reports of hail today? Because I have not.
I know, but one report of the earlier storm that went through Jackson County between Ripley and Ravenswood, a viewer named Michael says that he drove through that and said that those hail indicators were heavy rain rather than hail. So a lot of this might be torrential rainfall rather than hail.
Okay, and that would be interesting to note because, okay, now we have a TVS of 10. I'm beginning to wonder if the radar algorithm may be just a little off here south of Elizabeth, but nevertheless, the radar is detecting, at least on the radar algorithm, that there's some rotation and a TVS there, but and Ken, if it's torrential rainfall, then I become a little concerned about ponding of water on roadways and obviously some low water crossings here in West Virginia, flooding, and even flooding can become a concern as multiple supercells may track over the same areas repeatedly.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing right now is, in fact, these cells are training over the same place. And even as you go to the southwest into Kentucky, you're going to see that the cells that are forming are going to go over much the same places as they did earlier. So just because you get a storm now doesn't mean you're out of the woods necessarily, because this watch goes till 10 p.m. and the way these cells are forming, you'll get a storm, you'll get some clearing behind it, you might even get a peak of sunshine before the next storm comes through, and it's just feeding off of each other. So don't let your guard down after you get a storm, because it's not necessarily over for you.
Absolutely. They did go ahead and cancel the severe thunderstorm warning to the northeast for Guernsey, Noble, Belmont, and portions of Harrison County, and I think that's a good move based on what the tornado warning is currently doing. I'm trying to keep up to date with all the updates here. Looks like that they're... Okay, they may be seeing a hail spike on the southwest side of that tornado warning storm. That's interesting. We'll have to come back to that possibly, but nevertheless, the tornado warning continues here, and this is radar indicated until 5:45 for Belmont County, Harrison County, Jefferson County, and Ohio. And again, those are portions of those counties. And then we have a tornado warning continuing for portions of Marshall, Ohio, and Brooke counties in West Virginia. Now, the latest scans continue to indicate that Wheeling is not going to be impacted by this, but you're still in the polygon for the time being. We'll see if perhaps some new development takes place to the east of the supercell. But this is wrapped up pretty good. We still see a very solid inflow notch. I note that, in Ken, unless you're seeing something differently, tell me, but I've not seen any reports of damage whatsoever out of this particular tornado warned storm right now.
No, I have not seen any reports of that kind at all.
Tornado warning has been canceled.
Okay.
So they said the supercell is starting to fall apart. I don't necessarily agree with that altogether, but we'll leave it as it may. So we are now tornado warning free once again. So we will bounce back to our severe thunderstorm warnings. I don't know that we'll remain tornado free for long, but let's see how that trends. And in fact, the Weather Service is already monitoring in Wilmington a new storm exiting out of Lewis County, Kentucky, showing rotation as it moves towards the Ohio River. So that's going to be interesting to see over the next few minutes what that does. So Cider County, again, you seem to be the winner today for storms. Be on the lookout. Additional storms are on the way. So now let's focus back on our two supercells with severe thunderstorm warnings. Just to make sure that was not a new warning they're issued. It is not. For portions of Wood County, and Ken, I think it's safe to say that Marietta and Parkersburg are going to avoid any large hail out of that supercell crossing Elizabeth right now.
Yes, at least this storm, we should avoid that. The storm to the south might not be so fortunate in that the The storm that's in Ripley right now appears to be heading more north at this point. So we'll have to watch the entire I-77 corridor for that.
Absolutely, I would certainly second that, and I'm going ahead and changing our bottom banner back there to severe thunderstorm warning, since we are now tornado warning free, just so you can kind of, everybody home can kind of stay up to date with what we are currently tracking. So as it currently stands, we have 3 severe thunderstorm warnings in the Bell Park Weather Network coverage area. We're also still monitoring an existing tornado warning that has been allowed to expire up in Belmont and Jefferson counties. But regardless, starting from south to north, a severe thunderstorm warning here for Roane and Calhoun counties in our coverage area until 5:45. This is the far southeastern portion of the county. Damage threat tagged considerable with winds up to 70 miles per hour and 1-inch diameter hail. A severe thunderstorm warning for nickel-sized hail and winds to 60 miles per hour until 5:30 for Mason, Jackson, and Roane counties in West Virginia. And lastly, but not least, a severe thunderstorm warning for Washington County, Ohio, east of I-77, mind you. Also for Wood, Wirt, Jackson, and then also portions of Tyler County, West Virginia, and Ritchie County, West Virginia until 5:30. Damage threat considerable, tornado possible tag, winds to 70 miles per hour, and 1-inch hail. Lightning count just on these 3 storms alone, as I kind of move the radar back into view, 431 strikes just in this particular view. And now there's that rotation showing up there in Lewis County, clear from the Charleston radar. So that may cross into portions of Scioto and Jackson and Lawrence counties in the near term. So, Ken, I think we're a long ways from done here yet this evening.
Yeah, totally. Like I said, these cells are very discrete. It's not like the lines that we typically see of severe weather. So again, once you get a storm, it doesn't mean you're done for the day. Unlike those situations, these cells keep forming behind one another and keep training over one another, and the severity stays pretty much at the same level, cell to cell. So definitely not over by a long shot. Severe thunderstorm watch till 9 o'clock to the west, tornado watch till 10 o'clock to the southeast. And that includes 28 of the 29 MOV counties. Hawking County is under severe thunderstorm watch. Everybody else in the MOV area is under the tornado watch until 10.
Yeah, and good point. And here's the watches as well. Those counties in pink, again, pretty much the western half of the Buckeye State and east central and southeast Indiana, severe thunderstorm watch till 9 p.m. The counties that are shaded in yellow, not necessarily flashing in yellow, but shaded in yellow, are under a tornado watch until 10 p.m. And it's worth noting that the lightning count, just in our coverage area alone, and even into southeastern Michigan and over Lake Erie, is over 1,000 at this point. So very impressive, given the fact that this is late March, and we expected thunderstorms today, but these supercells, I think, have kind of taken me by surprise over anything else. And speaking of that, Ken, that supercell in Elizabeth appears to have weakened. It may have been kind of wrapping up on itself a little bit too much at this point, and that may be due to perhaps too much wind shear taking the reflectivity too far out, and then it gets absorbed into the potentially rotating part of that. The cell near Ripley, however, appears to potentially be developing a new inflow notch to the south of Ripley, based on what I'm seeing.
Yeah, that one's trying, but it's also fairly disorganized. But speaking of the Elizabeth storm real quick, I've gotten some reports from Bo in Elizabeth. He's sent some pictures and some video, but said that the rotation was evident but very weak. There's some small hail, but mostly rain at this point. It appears to be a little bit of wind, but it looks stronger on the radar than it probably actually is at this point.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised by that. I see that we're seeing some people send some stars. Thank you for your continued support. We really appreciate that very much. Again, as it stands right now, it should be noted that the cell in Elizabeth, as Bo had said there, the rotation was weak, and it's still indicating some rotation on radar, but not certainly to the extent that it was. The cell down to the south near Ripley, we can flip that onto velocity. Certainly some broad rotation there too, and I think we're going to kind of see the same. I would expect the similar reports in Ripley as we're getting in Elizabeth. Little bit of rotation in the skies, maybe we're able to see that, and some gusty winds, but I think the bigger concern at this point may need to become that torrential rainfall. And Ken, I've not looked at flash flood guidance, but certainly too many storms with this amount of rain in a short amount of time is going to cause some problems, and that includes those traveling I-77 as well.
I would agree with that. And there's a lot of low areas that typically get flooded on just a typical heavy rain. So training rain, very different animal here. It's going to cause flooding in the low-lying areas. Might cause a rise in the little streams and creeks around here. But I'm going to look up the flash flood guidance real quick and get back to you on that.
Yeah, I would imagine we're probably, at least for right now, that 6-hour guidance may need to be looked at. I think 12-hour guidance could certainly be exceeded, but we'll have to watch and see. And of course, if you have reports of flooding, it looks like there was a rainfall report out of Huntington, West Virginia. Let's see what that one was about. 10 minutes and a quarter of an inch of rain. That does not surprise me based on the observations that we've seen just on radar, but just with the overall environment today, I'm not surprised by that whatsoever. Severe thunderstorm warning continues for Roane County and Calhoun County in the southeastern portion of those counties until 5:45. They remain with damage tag considerable. Let's go look at velocity on that one. That's way out of the coverage rate. Wow, that one actually looks impressive. I'm actually kind of surprised that's not a tornado warning. That certainly is rotating down there, well southeast of Charleston. Velocity shows pretty good signs there. Now that will pass through and out of Montgomery towards Clay, and then will eventually impact rural portions of Calhoun and Roane County there near I-79. They have expired the severe thunderstorm warning for Washington County, Jackson, Pleasants, Ritchie, Tyler, Wirt, and Wood counties. That has been allowed to expire. Ken, your take on that? I think that's potentially a little premature, but maybe a new one's about to come up, seeing as how that was not going to make it to the end of the polygon by 5:30.
I think they might be reevaluating it at this point, and the winds might not be as strong at this point. Although I am noting a little bit of an attempt of rotation trying to form just to the east of Elizabeth at this point. So that's one to keep watching. As for the one near Ripley, same idea. It looks very disorganized, and the warning might not continue on that either. The wind might look stronger on the radar than it actually is.
Absolutely, and that's one thing too. We said that there was the threat of tornadoes, but certain things have to come together in order for that to happen. And some of those things just may not be coming together at the exact time, in the exact place, in the exact location. So we'll continue to monitor those things very closely for you. New storms worth monitoring: southeastern Jackson County, far western Gallia County. Maybe a new supercell trying to develop here. I'm very impressed for the month of March today, what we are seeing with these storm structures. Very impressive, and I think it's matching the model guidance pretty well overall. Also, some new storms into Ross, Pike, Scioto counties in Ohio, and coming out of Lewis County, Kentucky. Weather Service in Wilmington already monitoring that one for some potential new tornadic development maybe down the line. So a lot to be had there. And your ticker at the bottom will update. I understand it still says tornado warning at the bottom. Unfortunately, we've had so many warnings today, and plus it depends on how the Weather Service is handling it and how the ticker is taking it in. So understand that we do not have any active tornado warnings at this point in time, but we still have plenty of active strong thunderstorms. Let's go back to that cell that actually had a tornado warning on it. It's coming through Jefferson County. I'll tell you, it still looks pretty impressive on radar. Velocity a little disjointed and more broad than anything else at this point in time, but we'll continue to monitor that. That will cross through Jefferson County more into maybe Brooke and maybe Hancock counties up towards Weirton and Weirton and Steubenville, over the next little bit. We'll see how that trends there as well. Also a stronger storm coming towards Canton at this point. May actually kind of split Worcester and Canton, not necessarily in half per se, but kind of go right in between the two of them up towards Akron and Summit County here in the next little while. That's a strong developing thunderstorm there. Maybe some small hail. And outside of that, strong storms also over northwest Ohio. I don't want to forget about these either. While there's no warnings on these, we still have to treat them just as like we do anything else. That's actually a really nice solid line segment there coming out of Toledo and out of Bowling Green into Sandusky County. I know Owen Fritz is up there, and I'm sure if there's something going on, we'll hear from him right away. But strong winds, maybe up to 50 miles per hour. Let's see if there's a special weather statement. And actually there is, for winds up to 50 miles per hour coming in towards Fremont and Port Clinton. And of note, there are special weather statements in northeast Indiana for winds up to 50 miles per hour and pea-sized hail. And Ken, I'm actually kind of surprised this secondary line that is developed once this main line has passed is actually looking just as impressive as the initial line of storms that came through Fort Wayne and northeast Indiana. So still some energy left to be had with this area of low pressure spinning around the Great Lakes this evening.
And indeed, and I just got a refresh of the severe thunderstorm watch, and some of the Indiana counties have been dropped to the south of Fort Wayne, but I note with interest that the counties ahead of this line have not been dropped yet, which makes me believe that there could be something more to these storms at some point in the near future, or that they're still monitoring them for potential severity later on down the line. But that line has looked impressive for quite some time now.
It has, and I see an area of interest southeast of Fort Wayne near Monroeville, although the latest scan has dropped it off just a little bit. Folks, I don't want you to write off just because you may have seen one round come through, and Ken pointed to this earlier. Just because one round came through, you're not necessarily done. And that's very evident just based on what we're seeing with the way the weather services and the Storm Prediction Center are handling the severe thunderstorm watch. These go out for an extended amount of time for a reason. But if you live up here towards LaGrange, Auburn, Angola, and even eventually Defiance, again, round 2 coming through, gusty winds definitely likely with some of those. And we'll see if the weather service down the road elects to issue some warnings. Looks like also some strong storms coming through Marion County. We'll take a look in southwest Ohio. Report of some wind damage, possible tornado near Clarksville. We were looking at that one earlier. A structure damaged along with a car and camper that were completely flipped over. That sounds like tornado damage to me, but the Weather Service will have to determine that here over the next few days. And also kind of special weather statement for that cell in Jackson and Gallia County. They're warning that one for penny-sized hail, and now a new warning there for Athens and Meigs and Gallia and Jackson and Vinton counties. That goes until 6:15 nickel-sized hail and winds to 60 miles per hour. So here we go again.
Indeed. And there's also another cell I'm watching real quick that's going through Williamstown and Marietta right now that seems to be flaring up pretty quick.
Yeah, and again, now keep in mind, folks, unless I missed something, I believe they canceled that warning.
Yeah, I think they did. It just has not been wiped off yet. But
Let me double check
like
that.
I said, there appears to be another cell to just, like I said, racing through Williamstown and Marietta right now that is flaring up. So we'll have to watch that as that goes through the remainder of Washington County. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at that new warning as well.
Yeah, so here's this new warning, and again, that one that's east of Marietta, that's been allowed to expire. I'm not sure if maybe it's the way that they issued that is why it's not falling off there. And Brant is also noting that watching that cell out of Lewis County, there's a drop-off on velocity in the middle of that, so we'll have to look at that one as it approaches Portsmouth. But this new warning here is kind of for Rio Grande, Vinton, and Ken, again, very dark purple, but maybe more torrential rain, velocity, showing some strong winds, and maybe some broad rotation. That's definitely not very organized just yet, but could become organized.
Yeah, I'm seeing some broad rotation just to the northeast of Thurman, to the northwest of Rio Grande, but nothing too organized as of now. But it is important to note that there is some inflow there. There is something to watch with this one, and I'm taking a look at if it will let me take a look at the warning here. Yeah, it is indicated for wind right now. The hail's not too bad. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. The lightning. If you see a lot of lightning around it, then that's another indication that it could be pretty strong. Right now, we're seeing about 12 strikes of lightning around there, so we'll keep a watch on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that's coming just to the west of Rio Grande and heading up towards Vinton, the town of Vinton, not in Vinton County per se, but then it'll cross into Vinton County, potentially near Wilkesville. And there's also Rutland, Middleport, Pomeroy, north of Cheshire. Let me turn off the special weather statements because that's going to get confusing. But that does include Athens and the University of Ohio campus. So that's interesting. This will continue to trend that way. But several storms now starting to flare up across southern Ohio in general, and even one now just south of my location. I'm going to take a quick look at that one just to make sure there's nothing ominous there. I was waiting to see if I was going to get anything additional today, and sure enough we are. No lightning per se, and velocity looks to be pretty controlled as of right now. So we'll continue to watch that too. But again, if you're watching us right out there now, and Ken, they've even canceled the Jackson County warning there for Ripley. That's interesting. I know that one was set to expire at 5:30, but no reissuance.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Maybe due to the lack of reports, but there was a 1-inch hail report at 4:55 near Ravenswood. That was a report from NPing, but that was not neither here nor there to be confirmed at this point. So we're down to 2 warnings now. Both of them are severe thunderstorm based, and both of which, and Ken, as I say in that warning there, east of Charleston's beginning to weaken, but maybe also be trying to restructure itself just a little bit too. That one is certainly by itself.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and it could be restrengthening. It could be losing its organization. It's hard to tell at this point. The one near between Ripley and Reedy actually still looks kind of interesting right now. It's trying to get its act back together, but who knows what will happen with that one. At the very least, we know that there's some small hail and heavy downpours in that, as well as the one in the severe thunderstorm warning right now in Ohio. At the very least, there's some heavy rain and some lightning with that, so you want to take that seriously still. Especially, this is our first storm day of the year that's not snow-related, so
Absolutely.
We need to remember our thunderstorm safety rules and all that. So
always, and you can hear northwest of Rio Grande, that hail core has spiked up and is catching my attention here. Just our last couple of frames.
I'm looking at the reflectivity here, and it's black.
Yeah, and there's certainly some very dark purples in there too.
Yeah.
Now there's 2 individual hail cores there. But again,
yes.
as we've seen today, this may be more torrential rainfall, but that would be very impactful for driving conditions. Zero visibility more than likely with those kind of returns that we're seeing on radar. Also, Portsmouth, I was just checking out this one here coming out of Lewis County. Very interesting, still maybe in its organizational stages, but south of Portsmouth and east of Portsmouth, they're in Scioto County. They're from right there near the Ohio River at US 23, and kind of working back through Scioto County, north of Franklin Furnace, east of Lucasville, towards South Webster. That one could get its act together here shortly. There may be a little bit of a rain-cool boundary that this could interact with and may intensify just a little bit as we continue to move along. But really, for all intents and purposes, that cell east of Charleston appears to want to miss the viewing area altogether. So unless there's a reason to, we're not going to talk about that one much longer. As those of you well south and east of Spencer and Grantsville, I'm not even concerned about that one. I think that misses the coverage area altogether. Maybe it moves into Gilmer County down the road, but that's got a long way to travel, and it appears to have slowed way down at this point in time. So, and that's the way things look right now. So we're down to technically just 1 warning, even though we verbally and physically have 2 there. That's kind of the way things are looking right now. Ken, is there anything else you want to add?
Not really right now. I mean, it seems like these are just, at this point, more typical spring, summer storms at this point. Heavy downpours, some small hail, some wind possible, but nothing that is too totally organized right now.
Absolutely, and getting a downpour here at my house, just want to take a quick peek, and yeah, it's coming down pretty good. And you're going to see some torrential downpours, so just be prepared for ponding of water. It's rush hour, so you may be dealing with some issues as you're heading home from work or whatever activity you were working on here this evening. So, Ken, do you want to continue to remain on, or do you want to kind of take a quick break here for a little bit?
I think we can take a break for a little bit.
Okay.
Let everything reset and see if things reform. If they do, we can be back on. If not, we'll keep a watch here and we'll do what we do.
Absolutely. Real quick, I did want to say here in Gallia County near Vinton, north of Rio Grande, certainly maybe a slight couplet trying to form there, but we really have not seen much in the way of other signs that would kind of lead us to believe that we need to stay on for this one right now. But and that was looking from the Wilmington radar, Tyler said. So we're kind of in a radar no man's land just a little bit out here this evening. So we'll continue to monitor this very closely. But for Ken McNabb, I'm Nick Dunn. Thanks for joining us here late this afternoon, early this evening, whichever you like to call it. We continue to monitor several strong to severe storms across the Mid-Ohio Valley and southern Ohio, and also into northwest Ohio, northeast Indiana as well. We'll come back live as needed here for continued coverage here on Facebook. Thank you, and have a good rest of your evening.